You're listening to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will introduce you to a wealth of interesting, fascinating individuals from all walks of life who will share their stories, how they've overcome challenges, and you will find out their top tips for success. Through this podcast, you can gain tips to grow and change your life and the way you see the world, and help you to nurture your zest. Hello everyone and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. My name is Ashleigh King and I am the host of this live stream. I'm really excited to chat to you tonight because I haven't done a Nurture Your Zest for a while, at least not an evening one. So what a great thing to be doing again. And also I'm so excited to share my epic guest with you tonight. So Lea Turner is honestly the most interesting thing I've been watching on LinkedIn all this last year. So it's been incredible to watch her growth. If anyone is a LinkedIn fan or uses the platform, it's insane the followers that she's amassed in 12 months. She's gone from around 400 connections to over 150,000 connections, coached over 150 people, and really made such a difference in her own life through being authentic and also attracting her own tribe of loyal supporters. So I'm going to bring Lea on in a sec and she can tell you all about herself. But I'm super excited to share her with you. She's an honestly for me, a rock star to watch. We're going to chat about stigma, stereotypes, and breaking the algorithm. So I'll bring her on now. And thanks for your patience. Just a sec.
Hi.
Hi. First time I'm using StreamYard on my phone. I've got new Black Friday kits, and I'm like, what do I do? Thank you for waiting. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm loving your background. I'm always fascinated by people's things behind them and what's going on. Lots of cool Christmas cards and plants and all sorts.
Do you know what? They're not Christmas cards. They're just like thank you cards. There's a few holiday photos and there's a load of books that make me look really smart that I haven't read.
I love that.
I've read some of them.
Cool.
Yeah, quite colourful.
Yeah, it's very colourful and it's nice to see. And we may have even some puppy cameos. So I'm looking forward to that because who doesn't love a good puppy?
Around my feet somewhere. You'll know if I suddenly yelp because he's bitten my toe.
Well, there's a few people expecting you might fall over or do something silly. So it's great to have you here as you are. And we'll see what happens, puppies or clumsiness. So could you tell us a bit about yourself, Lea? What's your story?
Well, I have to correct you a little bit. I'm not quite at 150,000 followers. It's, I think, like mid-60s or something now. So I started on LinkedIn in October 2019, and I was just like everybody else. I had a profile that I never used. It was just there if I ever needed to get a job. And I wanted to find some extra business for my transcription company, and I just started posting. I had a logo to start with because I didn't think I was the kind of person that belonged on LinkedIn that anybody would take seriously. And Naomi there, my lovely assistant, she wanted to come and work with me full time. So I went onto LinkedIn to try and find some business. So Naomi's the entire reason I'm on LinkedIn at all. And that was it. Like, it just took off really fast. I think within the first 2 months, I had 10,000 followers. And it's just continued to grow and grow and grow to the point where when my business suffered because of COVID, it was suggested to me by some people that I'd given some tips that they'd implemented the advice that I'd given them. And it was really working for them. And so they said, well, why aren't you charging for this? So I started, I sort of put it out to my followers and said, would anybody actually want to pay me for this? And I got like fully booked for about a month, really fast. And then I got told off by a whole bunch of people saying you're not charging enough, you're giving too much value. And I was like, I can't charge more. That's a ridiculous amount of money. And I did, and people kept booking and booking and booking. And so I put my prices up again, and I'm still fully booked until the new year, and well into January now. So yeah, it's been quite mad. When you say it out loud, it sounds mad. I don't really think of it in like that. I think of it in like little small chunks, just one day at a time. So otherwise I get overwhelmed by it, I think.
Do you know what I really like listening to you, Lea, is that you're still super humble. So for instance, I mean, I think I got excited. By the way, guys, if you haven't watched me before, I have ADHD, so numbers and things I get so wrong. But I saw 150 coaching clients and clearly went 150,000 followers. But with
me another 6 months.
You will. But I mean, the fact that you can actually correct that as well, I think is really nice, that you can say, hey, I'm not quite that, but you know, and I think it's nice to see how sweet you are actually to still be raising your prices, but you're still down to earth about it. I think I want to reflect on that for a minute, because there are a lot of LinkedIn coaches. Your own headline says another LinkedIn coach. And
just bear with me 1 second, Ashley. I'm going to have to do a puppy cameo, or we're going to end up with barking the whole way through.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're arguing over a toilet roll.
Oh, as puppies will do. Oh, hello.
So this is Rooster.
Rooster, what a name, and what a gorgeous what a gorgeous
my little boy came up with that name. So so sorry, we've got a lot of creatures happening now.
We did expect a cameo. So yes, on his terms. You're so right, Susan. We've got a puppy on his own terms, and it's so great to see. He's gorgeous. So how old is he?
He's 9 weeks.
Okay, awesome.
He's really tiny, and the other one's trying to get in on it. He's very tiny. He doesn't look like a cockapoo. He looks like a cocker spaniel. Like his ears dangling. Look. Oh,
sweet.
Guys, right. I'm really sorry if there's noise. I can't really do anything about them. There's no one else to take them outside because my son's in bed now. So,
well, for anyone who's listening to the podcast later and you hear barking, we apologize, but you might want to turn your volume down if you hear barking.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It's so nice to see him, and he's gorgeous. Lea, what I wanted to ask, so I want to come back to the puppy in a sec, but I wanted to say about these other LinkedIn coaches. There are some people who are really arrogant and kind of like don't reply to people, just they're too busy for people. They don't really have a nice vibe. So how have you found, as your growth has increased, other other influencers, so to speak? Have you had any negative experiences?
No, I wouldn't say negative experiences. I think I do feel for them, because the amount of direct messages I get on a daily basis is enormous, and it is overwhelming. And so quite often I will lose, every time someone replies to a story, every time I put a post out, I get a whole load of DMs, and it becomes quite oppressive to try to deal with them all the time. And sometimes, like I had a guy the other day who he connected and sent me a message just saying thank you, and I didn't reply to him because it was a Sunday, and I try to avoid my DMs on a Sunday because I'm having family time. I'll comment on LinkedIn here and there, but I won't address my DMs. And he sent me a message at like 10 p.m. saying too long or too slow. And I was like, excuse me, Alan, it's a Sunday, I've got 64,000 followers, and you're sitting there getting your knickers in a twist because I haven't replied in a timely enough manner to your 2-word post message. Like, what am I even supposed to say to thank you? It wasn't even a question. So I really relate to because my DMs, like, I'm not that big on LinkedIn compared to some of these the bigger LinkedIn coaches. So I do feel for them in that you can't get back to everybody. But I don't know. There seems to be there's either or. You've got the LinkedIn followers with very small followings with very little engagement. And you sort of think, well, why are people hiring them? Because surely they should be able to do the things that they're teaching. And if their engagement is low, how can you be sure that they really know what they're talking about? Because if they can get you the visibility, why aren't they getting it for themselves? And then you've got the other people that are like monsters in the game, and then you're not really sure if they're popular because their content's really genuinely great, or if they're using engagement pods to make it appear great. So I hope that I sit separately from both of those, and maybe that's part of what sets me apart. Not that I'm the only person that's doing it the way I do it. There's lots of me, others like me, but I hope like we're the good guys that aren't just going to say, pay me money and I'll stick you in my engagement pod, or they charge £50 an hour and they don't really teach you anything that you couldn't just pick up from watching other people.
It's so true, because actually a lot of people don't realize such a thing like engagement pods even exist, that you can actually have people who comment on things. Don't worry about the pups, stay cute. We did have Naomi say the cutest puppet, which is sweet. And actually we're just talking about content there, and people spending a fortune on content, and maybe that's why they've got a lot of engagement. But last week you actually posted a video of your pup, and how many views did it get?
So I was literally having this conversation with Naomi the other day, because there are a couple of big video creators on LinkedIn, and they spend a long time editing their videos. They really put a lot of effort into it, because that's what they sell. They sell video creation, and the videos are amazing, and they've got huge followings. But the actual amount of views on their videos, relatively speaking, compared to how many followers they have, is really quite low. Like if you've got 500,000 followers but only 20,000 views on a video, I'd be fuming if I spent hours editing a video that only got 10,000 views when I've got 500,000 followers. But I put a 30-second video of me holding the puppy on a Saturday afternoon, and it's had over 100,000 views on it. And the poem that I posted on Sunday has had over 50,000 views, over 150 shares. So I'm not really sure that over editing your videos is the way to go, because I don't think people care. I think it's more about what you're saying and the message that you've got than how well edited it is. Although I would say do put subtitles as much as you can, because I try to always put subtitles for accessibility. And so that's the only editing I really do.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, because a lot of people don't put subtitles. It's something I need to work on still myself. So yeah, I think that's a really important view to add. And I do think one of the reasons that people love what you do, Lea, is because it's so authentic. It is really kind of like true stories and stuff that's really happened. I still can't remember the first time I saw anything that you posted. I think it was maybe you were going through a rough time at the start of COVID. There was a guy who was like stalking you. That was really creepy. And I think that's when I first found out about you and kind of got to know your content. We've got lots of Hayes coming in. Hi, Sultan. Thanks for watching.
Hi.
So yeah, I mean, you had a really creepy guy.
That was scary. Do you know, so it was like a Sunday afternoon, and he'd sent me a message. He'd never sent me a message on LinkedIn at all, but I got a message on Facebook in my other folder, and he was saying, "Why have you interfered with my delivery?" or something really bizarre. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a weird conversation. And then he asked me something again, and then before I could reply, he blocked me, and I just thought, didn't really think anything of it, but I found it a bit uncomfortable because he'd found my personal Facebook from LinkedIn, and I try to keep them separate. And then I got some messages in my other folder on Instagram, and he'd sent me a whole load of messages with some videos and saying, watch it at 3 minutes something or other. That woman screaming is you. And it was really angry Eminem videos with videos of a woman screaming and being murdered or something. And I was like, and then he'd sent me a whole load of videos talking to me as if we knew each other. And then I went onto his LinkedIn, but he blocked me. So I went on through a page I was managing for somebody else. And he'd had all these posts about me, and that he was going to kill anybody that was connected to me, and that he wanted to blow things up, and pictures of guns and videos of himself. And the guy was clearly manic. He was clearly going through a manic episode, because I've got experience with people who I've watched their manic episodes from friends in the past, and I was just like, okay, he's clearly unwell, but this is really frightening. And he'd sort of made comments about he knows that I live alone with my son, and so I had to actually call the police in the UK, and they got in contact with the New York City police. And I posted something on LinkedIn, but like blocked out his name for his own sake, because I didn't want anybody exacerbating the problem with him. But LinkedIn escalated it. They've got an imminent threat department. So they escalated it and dealt with the page. But the guy was obviously not well. So I didn't want to cause like a witch hunt, but it was quite concerning. So like I've changed my name on Facebook now, so people can't like try and contact my family or see my personal stuff, because with LinkedIn now getting bigger, like there are some things I've had to take into consideration now for safety, like having a registered office address so people don't know where I live. My phone number can't be anywhere on any of my websites, because I had a lot of like weird messages in the middle of the night from people. And that was about 6-7 months ago. I had to make sure I took that down. So just kind of having to learn on the go about keeping myself and my son safe, because you just don't know. And we do live alone. So there is that slight concern always.
I mean, one of the things that really stands out for me there is your compassion for someone going through a manic episode, and your ability to recognize that that person was unwell. I think that's extremely compassionate, given the way they were behaving and the fear that it probably created for you. So, I mean, I don't know how you were so compassionate in that.
I think I've got friends that have, or I have had friends over the years that suffer with BPD. And so I knew that the way he was behaving probably wasn't himself, but I also knew that because of BPD that he genuinely could be a threat to himself and to the people around him, because of the things that he was saying. So, but the last thing I wanted was like everybody on LinkedIn going after this guy and sending him horrific messages, because they wouldn't have been as compassionate as me. This guy just obviously needed help because he was a danger to himself. I probably wouldn't have been so kind if it wasn't so obvious that he was mentally ill. I think if he was just being creepy and terrible, I probably would have gone for blood, like threatening my son, because that's what you do, like mama bear instinct kicks in. But he was in New York. Like if he'd been down the road, I think my reaction might have been a bit different. But not being in the same country and not able to travel because of a pandemic made me feel a little bit more safe. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah. And shout out to LinkedIn, as Naomi said, you know, for keeping you safe and being on it. Yeah. I mean, that is a really scary situation. I think it's amazing that, like I said, you had that compassion. And certainly that's how I first spotted a lot of your stuff. I think as well, it wasn't just that guy. It was a lot of people actually commenting on your tattoos, you know, stuff about who are you, what are you doing on LinkedIn. Have you noticed as you've grown, your influence has grown, or even just as a business owner, a female business owner, have you experienced any stereotypes when people look at you or see you, or have they ever made any comments?
Yeah, people don't, it's why my business is called what it's called. It's why I've Stereotype Limited, partly because I do audio transcription, that was the original business, but also because people aren't what I expect, what they expect. I've always had people said to me right from a teenager, you know, you'll never get a proper job if you get tattooed. You'll never get a proper job if you put that ring through your nose. And I've had proper jobs. I've very rarely been denied a proper job. I've got pretty much every interview I think I've been for, I've got it, because you can, if you're confident and you're polite and you're good at what you do, there are going to be people that overlook it. And I think I'm quite good at convincing people that they need to look beyond what I look like. I was probably as insecure about it as anybody when I first got onto LinkedIn, because I thought I had a logo. I didn't even have my real picture because I thought no one is going to take me seriously. But I don't know. I think there are men. It is predominantly men on LinkedIn, and sad as I am to say it, it is predominantly white middle-aged men that seem to come up against me the most often, and that seems to be the case for most women I see being targeted by people on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying by any stretch that it's all white middle-aged men, because I've got some amazing white middle-aged white middle-aged men that are my friends and are my biggest supporters, but it does always seem to be that demographic that are really, really combative towards my sort of strong, outspoken but compassionate nature. And they'll always do but this should be on Facebook, you shouldn't be doing this, you've ruined the way you look, you could have been pretty if you didn't do that to yourself, all of that kind of thing. You think, yeah, but you know, Kev, I've got over 400 inbound leads on LinkedIn in the space of 12 months. So my Facebook attitude to LinkedIn is kind of working for me. So I think I'll stick with it. Thank you very much. And I don't even use Facebook anymore. I never use it. So I need an outlet, don't I? LinkedIn's got to be my Facebook.
Absolutely. I think it's really interesting actually hearing you say that, because I mean, tattoos and stigma around tattoos, I really think times are changing, and it's a very outdated view to, you know, want people to cover them up. But I have seen this. I've heard of brides asking their bridesmaids to cover up their tattoos, things like that, you know. Yeah. And a lot of people have said here they think LinkedIn would have been really stuffy and closed-minded, but it's not. I think as well, when you hang out as yourself, when you're authentic, you just attract a tribe of people who want to hang out with you for the you that you really are. And that's something that I see you advocating a lot for. It's really nice to have online.
One of the things I really love the most is how often I get messages from people that have said, you make me feel able to be myself. And there are people who have messaged me saying, I feel confident rolling my sleeves up in the office and letting people see my tattoos because I've seen you. I've had people approach me and say things like, I wouldn't have expected you to be the way you are, especially when I put videos and they do hear how I speak. I remember getting a comment from a client when I worked for building surveyors. I'd only ever spoken to her on the phone, and then I dropped off some work to her house. And she said to my boss, she goes, she's got a lot of tattoos. And he said, oh, yeah, she's got quite a lot of tattoos. And she goes, but she sounds so middle class. It's like, but I grew up in Sussex. Like, of course I sound middle class. But it doesn't mean that I'm not classy just because tattoos are not cheap. Like, you can't be poor and pay for, like, I had to save up so much money for most of my tattoos. Like, it's not maybe like the prison scratcher tattoos might be for poor people, but generally speaking, if people have quality tattoos, they paid a lot of money for it and they've had to earn it and work hard to get them. So the way people sort of look down on them, it baffles me, really. I don't really understand why it should change anybody's opinion of your ability. And that's definitely something I feel like people are starting to change. The attitude is massively changing now.
For sure. But one of the things you do, which is quite brave. So you had a chat with Luke the other day, and Luke has Tourette's. And that was epic. I mean, gosh, like I love that. I love that. And I was so, I don't actually know anyone with Tourette's, and I didn't know too much about it. So watching that, seeing it on LinkedIn and just seeing you guys have a chat, it really opened up my mind in a different way.
It was so much fun. We just love. He's in the chat room, isn't he? He's in the comments. I love him. He's like one of my favorite people that I've met on LinkedIn. And I didn't know he had Tourette's when we became friends. I didn't know. And I think I was one of the first people he kind of told, and was like, oh, you know, I don't know if I want to tell people about it. And I was like, tell everybody. It makes you stand out. Use it. It's your superpower. And now he does. And now he's like getting 5,000 followers, and he's getting tens of thousands of views on his videos because he's so funny. And I even know one of his tics, which I'm like really proud of forever, which I can't say because your dad's watching.
Yeah, my dad will watch, and he likes it clean cut and wholesome.
Yeah, we won't say that.
But Claire said she loves Lea, and yeah, that's great. So yeah, it's really nice to see you've clearly got lots of fans, because we've got loads of comments streaming in, so that's wonderful. I wanted to ask you, so you've mentioned about tattoos and your accent, but you're also super passionate about mental health. So I know you fundraise as well for children's charities, for mental health awareness, and part of your work on LinkedIn, some of the work you've done as your profile has grown, you've actually given a lot of time back to planting trees and fundraising, which is something not everybody does do. Can you tell us a bit more about your passion behind that?
So there are three main things I always have been quite passionate about, and that's like the one from the beginning has always been Macmillan Cancer Care, and I've always raised money for cancer charities, because I used to run a charity clothing company, so I used to sell clothes to raise money for cancer research. I've done fundraisers for Macmillan over the years, and I actually trained the fundraising team for free on Friday, and they were amazing, and it was so lovely to be able to give back like that. Derrien House, the children's hospital, the children's hospice, that was through Nick McEwen, through the walk that we did, and it was such an amazing place, and the people were so amazing, that I've continued to donate. So every sale made through my website for my content book, some of it goes to Derrien. We've done a couple of content creation evenings with my previous clients. That raises money for Derrien as well. There's been various other times where I've sort of like had a little bit extra that I've been able to help and donate, or people say to me, can you drop a like and a comment on my page to boost this post? I'm like, yeah, if you donate a £5 to Derrien House, I'll do it, because I think, well, I'm not going to ask for money for myself, but that if it's worth it to them, they'll donate to charity. Mental health, I've struggled with my mental health, and I've been surrounded by people who have also been affected by it, and it terrifies me that maybe my son will one day be one of these people really struggling. So anything I can do to help mental health is great. I sound really worthy, and I don't want it to sound like super cheesy, but I didn't come onto LinkedIn to become an influencer. Like, that was not in the plan. I just wanted some extra clients for my business, and all of this has snowballed, and I've felt quite out of control of it a lot of the time. So, and it's hard. Like, I find it quite mentally draining, and emotionally I'm having to like adjust to people knowing who I am, and feeling that kind of added pressure every time I post, because I know how many eyes are going to be on it. So I have to be really like considered with what I do put out, and how it could be taken by people that maybe don't know me and don't know the intention behind it. So everything that's sort of happened as a result is amazing, and I like completely embrace it. But I kind of think, well, what's the point in me having a platform if I don't use that platform to do good stuff? Because for me, if I'm going to have to put this much effort into something, the financial reward isn't enough. Like, it's lovely, and the lack of the weight it's taken off my shoulders to be able to provide for my son without having to check my bank account 3 or 4 times a week to make sure there's enough to cover the bills, that is amazing. But it's the being able to give back, like, that's the bit that makes me leap out of bed in the morning and has me dancing around the kitchen like really happy. It's like, I know that I've made this many sales, and last month I donated £450 to Derrien House from book sales, and I could donate £450 a month before from just an hour and a half chat with some people that I'd worked with, and everybody paid some money, and we gave a big handout. Like, that's the stuff that makes my heart burst with pride and excitement. So yeah, that's the cherry on the top, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, it's beautiful that you are giving back. I think not everyone does. So it's really nice to see that that's built into what you do. I'd like to ask you, so for yourself, I mean, it's been a year, and obviously you didn't expect the leads it would generate. So your Christmas now, this year, compared to last year, obviously there's COVID and there's things like that. But does it feel different at all in terms of, say, gifts you could get your son, or pressure for food, or is there any kind of,
The thing that is different, so I would always make sure that I had I've always been very responsible with my money, and I would save all year to be able to go on the holidays we went on, or I'd put them on a credit card knowing that I could pay them back. When it came to Christmas, it was always a case of, okay, well, I'll buy all the things that we need, and then I'll work double in January, or I'll work extra in January to make sure I can pay it off before I have to pay for all the interest. So I was sensible with credit that I use, and I've always been very sensible. This year, I don't have any debt at all, and I don't need to use my credit card at all. I've saved a house deposit so that we will be able to finally eventually get out of the renting game, which just I never thought I would be able to do, because I was in the like benefits trap. I earned little enough that I would qualify for some benefits, but if I went to a full-time job, I'd be earning too much to qualify, and then I wouldn't be able to afford my rent and my car and everything. So I was trapped. I've gone well out of that bracket now, which is an amazing feeling. But for me, the biggest difference for Christmas is the fact that I can take time off. And I'm not going to be panicking on Christmas Eve to get everything done so I can have the day off, because for me over Christmas, it was always a case of I'd work right up to late night Christmas Eve, and I'd be working again on Boxing Day or the day after, because I needed to make, if I took that time off, I'd be short of money at the end of the month. And this year I've just decided my son's having 2 weeks off school and I'm having 2 weeks off work. I'm not going to do any coaching, and maybe I'll make money from the book sales or the content calendar sales, but I can afford to not earn for a couple of weeks and not panic about it, which I used to panic big time. So yeah, massive amount of anxiety that's just not there anymore.
It's really but it's incredible to see, the difference and hear it, and how something you didn't expect to have such a monumental impact has, and the leads keep flowing in and people love what you're doing. I mean, one thing I'd like to ask, so you've mentioned your book a couple of times, so I mean, I don't want you to give your content away for free, but are there any tips that you could give that are baby tips, just to kind of tease people on things that you've noticed work really well on LinkedIn? Or maybe you don't have to give away your tips, but tell us what you really hate seeing on LinkedIn.
I really, really hate seeing people with crap profiles. That is the worst, because there is absolutely no point in commenting and engaging on everybody's post when your headline doesn't tell people what you do, and you have to tell them in a very short amount of characters, because and this is one of the things that I was literally talking about it on a post the other day. You have around 170 characters, depending on the kind of characters you use, right, to sell what you do, but you only see 47 to 50 of them. And that's everywhere. So if you send a connection request, you see 47 to 50. If you reply to a comment, on a mobile phone, when you reply to a comment, that is the shortest amount of space your headline shows. So you need to sell what you do in that amount of space. Then the rest of it is a bonus. That's for the SEO, that's for the keywords. If you can sell yourself and what you do in those first 50 characters, everything you do on LinkedIn is marketing what you provide to your ideal clients. Everything. So I spoke to a guy, Nathan. He was a coach. He's a videographer, and so he's changed his to Video Ninja, creating killer content. Right? It gets him noticed, and it says exactly what he does. So that's going to get him noticed every single time he leaves a comment. Every single time he engages or sends a connection request, everybody knows exactly what he's offering in a very short amount of space. So if you're not making the most of that, and then if you go to somebody's profile, maybe you've got a great headline and people go to your profile, but if your profile is rubbish, it's totally pointless, because you're not capturing people. They'll click on it and go and click off, and they'll never visit your profile again. So you need to, stop writing your profile like it's a CV, and stop writing it in the third person.
I can't stand that. When you get
talk to your clients and tell them what you can do for them, not about you, what you do for them. It's not about you.
Absolutely. Shabnam said, oh dear, crap profiles, need to work on my headline. Yes, I think many people will need to. It's so true. Because actually, when you go to someone's profile, they did some research, and actually recruiters only scan, the image, and then, you know, a few things. Your
And you
eye
only have
tracking.
2.5 lines on your about section, 2.5 lines before you have to click see more. If you don't sell what you do in those 2.5 lines, no one's clicking see more.
It's so true.
Yeah, you really need to make the most of it.
So that's excellent. Okay, and I mean, I know you've got amazing content prompts, you have challenges you do with your group, you have a book, and how has that all been going? I mean, first of all, you didn't have any of those things to sell yet, but you actually had all these people who just wanted to pay for your time. Did you find over all those sessions you were able to learn what people would want to know about and kind of start putting that together?
Yeah, the content prompt book came from the need for it. People kept saying to me, I don't have time. I don't have time and I don't have any ideas. I can't think. I'm so stressed. I can't think of content. I just don't think I'm very interesting. I don't know what I've got to tell. And I was like, hold on a minute. Everybody is interesting. Everybody's got stories to tell. So the book that I created, it's 156. I mean, there's a lot more ideas in there than that, but there are 156 different ideas. But it's not just ideas, it's like loads and loads of questions about that particular thing. So I'm not just saying write about this, I'm saying consider this, now think of this, 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 and this. And every single person, even when they use the same prompt, they're coming up with something completely different. And it's designed to help people to see content in their own lives and tell stories of their own experiences that are going to interest and attract their ideal clients. So, and help them to get to know their network as well by engaging them. And the feedback I've had on it has been amazing. But it's just because people can look at it, they can leaf through and go, that one resonates today. And I know that's triggered 3 different memories. So let's just write about one of those. And the engagement, I'm not even engaging on these people's posts because that would be unfair on the algorithm, because obviously when I engage on something, it will get like a boost of views because of my network. So I don't tend to engage on them. But even when I don't engage on them, I'm seeing they get so much engagement. Travis bought one, used it the next day, and his post had like 300 comments on it, over 200 reactions. He went, that's the biggest text post I've ever had. It was the first one he picked out of the book. And I was like, this is amazing. Like I glowed. I was glowing for days with all the amazing reviews coming back, because it's working exactly as I hoped it was. And it's not me telling people what to write, it's me telling people to think of their own stories so they can start actually coming up with their own content, because they're starting to see those patterns. You can lead a fish to water, you lead a fish to water, lead a horse to water. It's the one I'm talking about, and I'm teaching a man to fish. Yeah. I haven't even had one.
I know, and my brain's exactly the same. I go there. So, but yeah, I think I mean what you've said there is so interesting, because just the fact, even what you said about text posts. Some people don't know that actually it's really good to have text posts. So they think that you only should have pictures, but sometimes the text post gets the best, right?
Pictures are the worst. Like the amount of people that will just post something and they'll share somebody else's post and write a long old essay with it. It's like no one's going to see it because you just shared somebody else's post. It's not original, so they're not going to push it. It's very rare that those ones actually get much traction. And images, they're not pushed. It's not Instagram. If your text is good enough on its own, unless the picture is really, really necessary, don't use a picture. Sliders are better.
Do you know, that's so funny. I think I'm going to remember that, because I do a lot of images in mine, and I never even thought of that. But yeah, I think sliders are absolutely great. You can use them for so many things. Yeah. So how are you finding the LinkedIn story feature?
I really like it as a concept, but I don't think I think they should have waited until they could roll it out properly, because I want to be able to go to somebody's profile, like on Instagram, and click on their picture and see their story. Because otherwise, you can imagine, I'm connected to like 16,000 people and I've got 60 something thousand followers, right? So if I've got 16,000 people at the top of my screen, am I really going to be scrolling through 16,000 people to find my friends? Because it seems to be just the same 4 people on the top of my screen, and they're not people I even engage with. I don't really understand. Like, when I can actually scroll, when I can go to somebody's profile and watch their story, I think I will watch them more often. But in all honesty, I don't have the time to sit watching them. If I see somebody that I know at the top, I will click on it. And I do get about 1,000 to 2,000 views on mine on a day, but I don't have the time to create original content. It tends to just be stuff that I'm putting on Instagram or an advert for a product, because I don't have the time. I'd rather, if I'm going to spend time on a video, I'd rather post it to my feed and share it with everybody rather than just the 1,000 that look at my story. So I like it. I just think that I'm a bit tired of it. Twitter's got it now. I was really excited to have it, but I think it was just FOMO. I wanted it because the Americans had it. And then I got it and I was like, oh, this is fun for about a month. I was like, I'm too busy for this. So, you know, I prefer Instagram for that. I get more playful on Instagram as well. And I think I'm more like sassy and sarcastic and a bit like, I post a lot more risque stuff on Instagram, where it's more tongue-in-cheek, me taking the piss out of people, being my cheeky self more than my professional self. I love that that's the LinkedIn version is actually the professional version of me. Still not that professional.
I think it's true though. I mean, you've got to be able to be yourself, and I know that that's why I love these live streams, because it's a great way to just, you know, be who you are. And I feel like when I first started them, I was too scared because I always hang out in a professional studio. But now I can chat to anyone. I think it's really funny, some of the comments that are coming through. Salty Lea with your Insta sass.
Yeah.
I was going to say LinkedIn Live. One of the things that I'm not enjoying is, so people are commenting now and there's some great comments coming through. When you then go back to watch it and I'll say Ashleigh King was live, you know, when you go and look for the comments to actually respond to people and chat to them, they're gone. And so that's something really frustrating, I think, about this new feature that I would really like LinkedIn to sort out. One day you'll be the boss of LinkedIn, Lea.
God, I don't know if I want that. My future isn't LinkedIn coaching.
No.
I enjoy it, but I'm working on my online course. I'm building an online course at the moment that is going to hopefully teach what I do in my coaching lessons, not the bespoke stuff, but get people up and running better than they're doing on LinkedIn. And once that's up and running, I will be doing a lot less coaching. So if people are thinking about booking in with me, try and book in with me sooner rather than later, because once the online course is up and running, I won't be doing as much of it because I want to pursue public speaking.
I love
that. My first public speaking gig on the 2nd of February, LinkedIn Spo, talking about authenticity, and I've got an amazing talk lined up, and I'm working with a TED Talk trainer. So I'm really excited about that. It's all obviously going to be online because we can't really plan for live events at the moment, but I'm hoping it's going to be the first of many, and I will be starting to, once I've done it, I think I'll start advertising myself for speaking events. So if I like it, I might be terrible at it and I absolutely hate it, but I kind of feel like I'm not going to be terrible at it. I'm quite confident about it.
You sound confident, but I'm curious about what led you to find your voice.
People listening. Like on LinkedIn, I started talking about stuff that I didn't think was very interesting, but I always find myself pretty funny. And I was suddenly like, oh, there's all these people that are really resonating with the things that I say. And it kept growing and growing and growing, and people were laughing and sending me really lovely DMs, and it was like loads of really lovely DMs. And suddenly I guess I got more confident with it and sort of started thinking people actually like are enjoying this and they want more and they're being really supportive. So I didn't want to get like a massive head or anything, but I think having that support and people showing an interest really does help to build your confidence. That's what I teach in my coaching lessons. I say, if you start opening up and talking about your own experiences, people will be interested. People can't be interested in you unless you allow them to be. So I started letting people in, and they started being interested, and so I had confidence to share more, I guess.
I love it. I think it's beautiful. I love your energy. I love hearing how you found your voice. I love hearing that there's going to be more of it, and you'll be sharing it on stages. I've got a couple of my own in mind. We'll see what happens. But I think it's really exciting to hear your journey, Lea. Just as we said, 1 year, the growth you've had is epic. So I just can't believe the engagement tonight. You know, we've got some great fans in your tribe who are here and showing up for you, which is awesome.
Oh, thanks, guys. There's always a core group of diehard, lovely people that are always there to support me, and I really do appreciate it. Like having my own little cheerleading squad that make me feel good and help me out, which
Absolutely.
is good.
Do you ever get shy?
Yeah, I'm not very good at compliments. Compliments make me shy, and so when people start talking about like my achievements, and I was having a conversation with Daniel Brown earlier, and he was saying, you know, you're absolutely smashing it, you're doing this, that, and the other. I'm like, I'm just keeping my head down and focusing on one day at a time, because when I think about where I was last year in comparison to here, I'm like, oh my god, this feels like crushing weight of responsibility. And then I think people are like, oh, well, imagine where you're going to be next year. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Let's just imagine how I'm going to be next month. I'm going to be halfway through creating my course. The next month I'll be doing my speaking gig. The next month I'll release my online course. Like, I can't think too much in the distance, because I also don't like to get my hopes up. And I still think I'm very much in that space where it could all crumble. And so I'm trying not to get too used to it all, because it's probably not a healthy way to look at it, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll just enjoy the ride, and if it keeps going. My mum's in the comments. How cute is that?
Oh, I love it. She's awesome. I know my dad's always watching. He's such a sweetie. So we've got some great comments keep coming through from Sultan, who's a big fan. We've had some real core supporters here for you, and it's lovely to see that your mum is, you know, behind you. Susan said imposter syndrome. We all get it.
Yeah.
And you know, have you ever heard of the phrase success tax? So doubt is success tax. Brendan Burchard says that. He's a high performance coach. And I love that, because you have to, as you grow and as you're doing new things that challenge you, you know, with that comes doubt and fear and all kinds of emotions.
It gives you an edge though, right? Like I feel like if I started to get too used to it and take it for granted, I'd lose that humble attitude that helps me to connect with people. And the minute I start getting too used to it, I worry that I'm going to lose that a bit, because I don't want to lose that. I don't want to start thinking, oh, you know, I can go and buy a £100,000 car, and not that I'm anywhere close to being able to buy a £100,000 car, but I sort of feel like if I get to that point and I'm just taking these things for granted, my attitude will change. And I don't want my attitude to change, because it's my attitude that's got me to, and how I connect with people, that's got me where I am. If I start changing, will I still be able to connect with people in the same way? So I'm not too much in a hurry to cure my imposter syndrome, because I think it's keeping me alert and giving me that fire in my belly still.
I love your vibe, and I think you've got a lot of people around you who are going to kick your butt if you ever get too big for your boots anyway. So
yeah, they will smack me down to ground, that's for sure.
I was going to say, so you've talked about loads of things. You've got your content prompts, you've got your course coming up, you've got coaching still. I just want to shout out to say that some LinkedIn coaches, we're not going to say who, charge £1,500 to, you know, for their LinkedIn courses or for coaching. So, you know, if you're looking for coaching or you want to grow your LinkedIn, do speak to Lea. How can people find you online, Lea? Where do you obviously like to hang out on LinkedIn and your stuff side on Insta?
I'm on Instagram at Lea_Turner_, and the same on Twitter. I've actually just started using Twitter more, and I'm quite enjoying it for the like one-line witty observations during the day. So I quite enjoy that. not very good at it, but I'm working on it. And I don't use Facebook I really don't use Facebook for business at all yet. So it's LinkedIn's best, or my website, stereo-type.co.uk. That's got all my content prompts, my content calendar that I've just released, and information on the coaching as well. So, and my blog, I've got like a blog on there. So that tells stuff that I don't talk about on LinkedIn.
And the blog's pretty epic. It's really brave. And I love the things that you've shared with people. And I think, again, that just wins you more people to your tribe. So I would love to ask Lea, Shabnam said, I think everyone knows where to find Lea. I love that. And some people, according to Selton, charge $14,000. What? That is insane. I've never heard of that. I've heard of $1,500, but I'm shocked. Wow.
The American one, some of the American ones do charge obscene amounts for it. Yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's only obscene if there's not people willing to pay it. If people are willing to pay it, then I mean, I have had a fair few people come at me for my prices, but I'm still fully booked.
Yeah.
So if people are if I'm booked up until the middle of January, at the beginning of December, then my prices aren't too high because people are willing to pay them, and people are still telling me that it's value for money and they've got way worth their money. So I could probably put them up again and still get booked, but I might do that for the new year. Maybe I'll do it. Book me now for the new year because I'm going to put my prices up again.
I love it. Okay, so we're running out of time. I have to ask you my favorite question that I ask everyone who comes on Nurture Your Zest. So for those who've never watched it before, Nurture Your Zest is about overcoming adversity or the prickly situations in life, of which I know Lea and I have both had many. It's about how through courage, curiosity, and creativity you can find inspiration and nurture your zest. And the one question I always like to ask is, what is your number one word to nurture your zest?
Oh, there's two. I would normally say my son, but he's only been part of the journey for 5 years. So I think overall, resilience has been the one thing that's kept me going through everything from the beginning. Just learning how to get through anything and trust that I can. That probably be it, I think.
Resilience. I love it. Yeah. And I know you haven't shared your full story tonight, and it's really an epic story. So for anyone who's loved Lea's vibe and wants to know more, do check out her blog. Some of the links are already in the description for this episode, but I will go and pop them in after, and you can find out more about her amazing story and how she's rocking it. So thank you so much, Lea.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Nice to catch up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for watching Nurture Your Zest with me tonight. It's really lovely to chat to people and also to have shared Lea with you. She is so cool. And yeah, I hope to bring you some more cool guests soon. Have a wonderful evening and an awesome Christmas. Thank you. You've been listening to Nurture Your Zest. You can find us online on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Nurture Your Zest. If you've liked today, please subscribe. You can also leave us a review if you're feeling extra kind. Today's podcast has been made available through the kind sponsorship of TL Multimedia and That Branding Company. We look forward to catching up with you again soon as you learn to nurture your zest.